Welcome back to the Writers' Room. I'm your host, Tessa Durrell, and this week we are joined by Gabe Trevino and Adam Engel. So to start off today's episode, I'm just going to let you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, give us a little bit of background about maybe why you're here at OSU.
Yep, who wants to start?
You can go ahead, Adam.
Okay, yeah, folks, my name is Adam Engel. I'm the co-editor-in-chief of the Ocali. I'm a senior studying sports media. I'm from Gillette, Wyoming, which I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of my...
I'll tell you every day.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my Wyoming heritage, and I love it here at Oklahoma State. I do a little bit of everything from, sports, love all sports, and I do some news and some lifestyle as well, just anything to help the team in general.
I'm Gabe Trevino, as you said. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. Came up to Oklahoma State last year, started working here around in August. I'm now the sports editor, kind of just doing sports really. Writing for my own stories, but also helping all the other sports writers grow and develop into who they want to be.
Right.
So now tell me a little bit about your background with the Ocali. You said, you got to start last year, now you're already a sports editor, and you've gotten to work with the Ocali maybe longer than that. So how did you get started?
So I walked in. Actually, funny enough, my brother went to Oklahoma State, and so he worked through the Ocali. Adam actually knows him. So he worked with my brother. So he told me, hey, I didn't even know what the Ocali was. He told me, hey, go down there. Go check it out. I didn't know it was a newspaper. I didn't know anything about journalism or sports writing. Went down there, met all those people, fantastic people, and I was lucky enough that the sports editor last year was kind enough and saw, I guess, my potential, and he allowed me to cover, football last year as a freshman, men's basketball. I got to cover softball in that Big 12 tournament. I didn't cover the World Series, but I did cover the Big 12 tournament. I covered Bedlam football last year, the entire men's basketball season. So I was lucky enough to get started on these big beats, work my way in, and I eventually became sports editor at the end of last year.
Yeah, and so for me, I spent my first year back home at community college just to kind of, I was on scholarship, so I went for free, didn't have to pay tuition, saved some money, and then OSU was the only school I applied to really only because of the sports media program. I really didn't even visit here. I just kind of showed up, and I came here I wanted to be a sports announcer, but when I came in 2020, it was fall 2020 because of COVID and all that. We couldn't really do anything, and I knew that when I graduate, okay, I got to diversify my portfolio. So I just decided to write. Walked in the newsroom within I think the third day of my
you can send it to me.
First week of school. I was at a soccer press conference, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I haven't really looked back since.
So what are y'all's most memorable stories you have written for the Ocali?
Do you have one in mind? I think you have one.
I'm trying to think. I have a few. The one that I'm proud of, I'm proud of a few, but the one that I really liked last year was, as you can see by my shirt, I'm a big wrestling guy. And so when they had that bout at the ballpark, it was this huge deal I worked on for a while, the history of the Iowa and Oklahoma State rivalry. It's the biggest rivalry in college wrestling. So there was a months worth of reporting that went into it, and I really enjoyed it. And then the other things I really like the human interest stories. Like, okay, these people are athletes, but they're humans first, right? Humans first, athletes second. And so there was this one about this German student that came in here at cross country. She kind of had she was contemplating whether she just quit and leave, but she just stayed here and kind of worked through her struggles to stay on the team and do well here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I also thought of a couple. The first one was my first, big story. It was called Wide Receiver U. It kind of just recapped OSU's history with big wide receivers, and that one was cool because it was the first time I really got to work on a big length story. I picked up the phone. I got to talk to all these guys. Talk to Tylan Wallace, James Washington, Rashawn Woods. So a lot of these guys that are big names at Oklahoma State, I actually got to talk to them. So that was my first kind of step into, these are big stories that journalists do. And so that was just the first one. But then I'll say I did one on Mason Cobb in the spring. That one I got to talk about his Polynesian culture, and that was pretty new. I didn't know much about Polynesian culture, so I was able to talk to his mom, talk to his high school coach. They're all from Utah, big Polynesian families over there. So I got to write a lot about that, and I found that really interesting. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of those seem like the more you get to see into people's personal lives, we see a lot about, stats and sports and whatnot, so that's really cool.
Right.
If you were to pitch joining the Ocali or writing for the Ocali, being involved with the Ocali somehow, what is one point you would make to tell someone to get them interested?
Yeah, so for me, I just start. It's the experience when you come in. There's a lot of schools that offer sports media and whatnot that kind of wait. Oh, you got to wait until you're junior or senior. Like I said, I walked in my third day. There was this kid that walked in. First day they're doing stuff. So the opportunities you can do immediately as a freshman.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's all the time we have for our first segment here in the Writers' Room. But make sure to stick with us because Gabe and Adam will have even more to say here in the Writers' Room.
My name is James Ramidi. Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all three met, the three owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the teas, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get, everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, being the owner, owning something that, is able to impact other people's lives, and, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Well, how I got started was my daughter said, "Mama, why don't we rent a booth at the Quarter Horse Show?" And it was very, very good because, when you're giving your jelly away for free, people really do love it. But when you ask them to pay for it, then that's a true test. What makes my product so unique is the Scotch bonnet pepper. And the Scotch bonnet is the Jamaican pepper. And I had lived in Montego Bay, Jamaica for 4 years. So I learned how to handle the pepper and how to cook with it. I always say, you don't do this on your own. I mean, you have so many people that help you along the way. For me and for many of us, that's my name on that jar, and it better be good.
We are back in the Writers' Room here with Gabe and Adam, but now we're going to take a look at one of Gabe's latest stories about the Grant family. So if you want to give us just a summary or synopsis of what that story was about.
Yeah, so there's this player, he played for OSU named Vernon Grant. He played from 2002 2005, cornerback. He was really well loved around the community and around OSU. Even long before NIL, fans were buying his jersey, wearing them in the stands, and cheering on their favorite player. And then right before his senior year in 2005, he died in a car accident back in Dallas. And so that really shocked his family and the OSU community as a whole. And so, but before he died, he had a son who was 8 months old at the time. And so now, 17, 18 years later, he's playing high school football, wearing his dad's number, and just really, not really taking the place of his dad, but he's doing a lot of similar things that his family is seeing a lot that his dad, like they're very similar people, even though they never really met each other. He was 8 months old when he passed away. So.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to get to write stories like this? It's a little bit more of a serious subject, but I'm sure it means a lot to the family and the community here in Stillwater. Mm-hmm. What does getting to have that privilege of writing stories like that mean for you?
I mean, it's kind of the fact of just, I kind of seen this recently, almost because of the story. Journalism is almost, you're basically telling someone's story that they aren't able to. They don't have a website, they don't have a publication that has, thousands of viewers that read the stories. So journalism is, taking these people's stories that they can't express themselves and then writing it and then showing it to the masses of people that say, hey, these people have stories that are interesting and worthy to tell. And so that's kind of what that was to me. I learned a lot about storytelling. Journalism is just a lot by going down there and talking to the family.
Yeah. Is there any added responsibility when you have a story like this that does cover a family and this long history of this family? Is there greater responsibility for you? Maybe more pressure when writing them?
Maybe not pressure, but you have to do it right. You want to express it in the way, because you talk to them, you get your quotes, and you put them in the story. But they can't write the story themselves. You have to write it in the way that they want it to be written, almost in a way. So you have to really you have to nail it. You have to really say what they're saying, what they're feeling, especially what they're feeling. You can put in what they said, but you have to express through your own writing what the family was feeling at the time.
Yeah. What if, I know, Adam, you've covered some pretty serious subjects as well. What is your experience doing that? Is there added responsibilities that you feel you faced, or maybe what do those stories mean to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of them, like you said, is personal connection type deal. Like I know mental health, something I think that we've all struggled with, and so like the story I mentioned last segment, that was the story where I kind of like felt like the most when I was writing it. Like, okay, because this is struggles, this is something that I can personally relate to, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if enjoyed the right word, because it's tough. I mean, it's hard, it's a tough subject, but having that personal connection, I think, helps you as a storyteller. And then this cross-country story, another cross-country story I wrote, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah. This runner came over from England, but one of his best friends died of cancer. And I mean, I can relate to that because I've had deaths in the family or whatever because of cancer. And so I'm just like, wow, this is powerful that this man came all the way. Like, can you imagine like going from England to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and something like that? It's crazy.
Yeah. So here in this last minute or so, the Grant family was very fond of OSU, even wants their son to go to OSU. What does that say about our university and the community here in Stillwater?
I'm going to use kind of a quote that they said. The OSU community never forgot Vernon Grant, who is the man who passed away. They never forgot him. At his funeral, there were, I believe 4,000 fans who showed up wearing his jersey, wearing his number to show their love for their favorite player. And that's really what this community is, a tight-knit community. It's a small town in Oklahoma, but everyone's really close. Even people aren't in Stillwater, just Oklahoma State fans, they're all close. They're all really a family. So that's kind of what I got from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's all the time we have here for this segment, but make sure to stick with us in the writer's room, all up next.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela. It's a great place to shop, a beautiful downtown, so come see us in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Pecans are staple to Oklahoma. In fact, many of our native pecans come from trees that are older than Oklahoma statehood.
My father's the one that got us started into the pecan picking. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and we started off with one little mechanical picker that you pulled behind a four-wheeler. Then we'd go home at night and we'd clean them on a TV tray. I guess watching my dad work hard when we were young, and people started trusting him and getting more and more groves, we just kept growing.
Being a relatively new and fresh company, we get to sit in the same room with people who have been a part of the Oklahoma economy for decades.
It's opened a lot of doors. It's gave us quite a bit of exposure, and I think people, will take a small company like us a little more serious. We're just going to continue growing as long as our community lets us and our customers keep on buying, and we'll see where it takes us.
Welcome back to the Writer's Room, where I'm here with Gabe and Adam, and right now we're going to talk about one of Adam's favorite subjects, wrestling. So Adam, why don't you tell us about your history with covering OSU wrestling?
Yeah, so history with covering OSU wrestling, I mean, it started my first year when I was a sophomore. I feel like wrestling's kind of, for some people, kind of a niche subject, and so I kind of had a previous background knowledge in the sports editor. He's like, okay, why don't you start with wrestling? I'm like, okay. Like, the history of OSU wrestling, I mean, they're the greatest, 34 national championships, the greatest college wrestling team of all time. So I jumped right in it, and I don't know, something about it I love. I love everything about wrestling and the program here that I'm covering.
What's a memory for, as you were writing for OSU wrestling, that stands out for you? Is there a specific match or maybe even press moment that you had that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think going to the NCAA championships in March last year in Detroit was really cool. It was something that I honestly thought of just having like a GoFundMe. Like, okay, if they're not going to pay for me, I'm going to find my way there. And there are actually some people on Twitter that reached out to me, like, oh, are you, if you're going to do that, I'd donate. Like, I'd support you. But no, covering the team and then just kind of the relationships I've had with the team has kind of gotten to the point where you're not just covering it, you're kind of building personal relationships with the coaches, the parents, some of the recruits as well, and the fans too. I mean, that's the other thing. The OSU wrestling fans, I mean, they're super knowledgeable, they're the real deal, they're loyal. I mean, man, there's a huge fan base on Twitter and all that, and they're it's just funny. And then I guess another memorable thing, I always like, I don't know, maybe when something like OSU or whatever, they don't do well, I love my Twitter mentions. Because some of the stuff that's on there is just so funny.
Yeah.
Like stuff that I can't control.
So I know that if you're good at wrestling in
Yeah.
Division I, the culture around wrestling at these schools is really deep. You know, it's a really
Sure.
rich history. What about OSU's wrestling program and history stands out among all the others?
Well, I mean, it's the most national championships, 34. I mean, it started, I think what their first one was like in the mid like 19 teens, I think, something like that. So yeah, just the history. I mean, Ed Gallagher, they call him like the father of college wrestling. The Gallagher Iba Arena, that's one of the first or one of the very few arenas in college sports with named after a wrestling coach. I mean, the only other one I can think of is Cliff Keen Arena in Michigan, which Cliff Keen went to Oklahoma State. So the history is everywhere. I mean, this is a program that kind of started a dynasty, and I mean they're looking to get back on the podium. It's been 16 years, I think 17 years now since they've won a national championship.
Oh.
So it's well overdue.
Yeah.
But
So going into this year, because you seem very knowledgeable, and I'm going to believe your output right here.
thank you.
What do you see happening for OSU this year? How successful do you think they're going to be? Is there one person that you think is going to stand out amongst the rest of the OSU team?
Yeah, I mean, I think every year it's Dayton Fix. He's their guy. But the thing is he's 0-3 in the national championships. I mean, 3 appearances to the national finals, hasn't won one yet. And so he has the and it's no guy's ever been, I don't believe no one's ever been 0-4. So he has he could make unfortunate history, but he could also win. And so he's the guy to watch out for. And the big storyline, I mean, the national championships this year are going to be in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And he's from Sand Springs. So if he could win that, 4th time's the charm. If he can win that in Tulsa, I think that would just be it would be like you
Awesome
couldn't
for him.
you couldn't write a better script about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's all the time we have here to talk about wrestling, but make sure to go to okali.com. You can see even more of Adam's works with wrestling and more of Gabe's work as well, but we've got one more segment after this break in the writer's room.
I'm Kristen Hawkins. I went to Oklahoma State University here in Stillwater in '99 to 2004. I've always felt like Stillwater needed more family-friendly things to do, and we have opened up AR Workshop. We do everything from knitting blankets that can be done in a 3-hour class, and we create doormats and porch signs, the Christmas wreaths with our yarn that we use for the blankets. We also do, we just started a new project for gnomes, and we've done pumpkins during the fall. But our big thing that we do here are interior signs. Our designs are extremely unique too in our workshop. Customers come in, everything is here for them to do. They create everything. They can be as hands-on as they want. They came in here to relax and have fun, and that they are proud of their project that they've made.
Ace in the Bowl salsa started many, many years ago. I was trying to find a recipe to take to a family gathering, and so I started messing around with different recipes, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and I came up with a salsa that is truly unique. Ace in the Bowl salsa is an olive oil based salsa with tomatoes, green chilies, green onions, and black olives. There's no sugar added, it's gluten free, low calorie, low carb, low fat, low sodium. So it's a very, very, very good alternative to any snack you may want. As of right now, I'm just looking to be in Oklahoma and having a successful business within the state. If my grandkids could ever take it over when they're old enough, that would be my dream.
We are back in the writer's room for our final segment today here with Gabe and Adam, and it's probably the one I'm most excited about. So we're going to be talking about Big 12 football, but to start off, I'm going to ask you, what did you think of that Baylor game?
Well, I think OSU did enough to win. I don't know if it was a really standout victory like they've had in the past with some other wins, but it was enough to get the job done and win by a comfortable amount of points. I do think, though, without that Jay Nixon kickoff return touchdown, it might have been a little bit of a closer game. But OSU did their job. They went into Waco, which is a pretty hard place to play. It's a very nice stadium. The fan base is pretty loyal. Against a really good Baylor team. You know, we saw what happened last year in the Big 12 championship game. But the Baylor team's good, although they had a loss. But OSU did enough to get the job done, and the offense was firing. Spencer only had one interception. That was kind of the storyline was, hey, can you get over this Baylor hump where he's thrown, I think at the time, 10 interceptions going into that game against just one team throughout his career. So it was good to see him on all cylinders. Only one interception. It was kind of a bad interception, to be fair, but yeah. He was throwing the ball pretty well against a team that he's had struggles with in the past.
What about you, Adam? What did you think of that game?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it because, like you said, I was there, and the energy was crazy. I mean, Baylor, they sold out their crowd. They had the gold rush, and it was my first time seeing it, like, in a way, college football game, period. Like, whether covering or just as a fan, my first time at an away setting ever. So I really enjoyed it. The Baylor, I mean, I like their stadium, but yeah, like you said, I mean, this was kind of a prove it type game for Oklahoma State, and I think they proved a lot. I mean, I think they proved that the defense is still legit. Spencer Sanders, man, he is making plenty strides. Spencer Sanders is just, I think, probably the most complete anyone's seen him so far in his career. He just looks more comfortable. He really knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, with experience, I mean, he's one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country, not just in the whole country. And I think that showed with what he was doing Saturday, especially his dual threat capabilities. Mm-hmm. Man, he is. That's the interesting thing about Saturday. Texas Tech's going to be a team that wants to blitz, but you put Spencer Sanders, all he needs to go is right up the middle. There's a lot of room between that.
Yeah, it's an interesting storyline too, because out of the Big 12, I'd say Spencer Sanders has some of the most experience, you know, especially now with after this weekend, OU's quarterback is down, and I don't think he's going to be available for a while for them. But now I've got some fun O'Collie power rankings here that we can talk about. First off, OSU's number 1 for our power rankings, which that's huge for us. But I noticed that number 10 is OU. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that or what that means for us in Bedlam in the future, but I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah. I guess I could talk about that a little bit. The power rankings are very based on what has happened in Big 12 play this year, not as much in the non-conference or even years past. It's really just this year, and OU has 2 losses, and they're not really good losses. They're not really close. They got blown out at home by Adrian Martinez in Kansas State, and then went to TCU, and just the first half they could have called the game at that point because it wasn't very close. So that's why OU's 10, but there's still room to grow. I thought this team was I thought Oklahoma could have been a college football playoff team. Now with 2 losses, that's very out of the window. But they're still a good team. But right now, based on what they've done in Big 12 play so far, that's kind of why they're 10.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to judge a lot of the Big 12 teams at this point because we're so all over the place. I mean, Kansas is coming out of nowhere right now. Who do you think OSU's biggest opponent will be throughout the rest of the season in Big 12 play.
Yeah, I mean, I think for them, it's funny because if you ask them, they'd say, oh, whoever our next opponent is. I mean, it's kind of true. I think Texas Tech might be a little test for them. I mean, they throw the ball more than anyone else in the Big 12. But, yeah, like you mentioned, Kansas, that game in Lawrence has plenty more implications than it has in the past. Oklahoma, of course, is going to be huge, as it always is. But, yeah, I mean, I'd say probably Texas Tech, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then I don't think you can count out Kansas State either. I mean, they're one of those teams where no matter how they are in the season, it's kind of a hit or miss with them, I feel like, and that's what they did with OU. For some reason, they've had OU's number in the past few years.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Gabe? Who do you think's the toughest opponent?
I'm kind of agreeing with Kansas State. They go to Manhattan. It's in Manhattan, and it's Kansas State's homecoming, so that's always a big environment. Kansas State always has big crowds, especially for their homecoming game.
Yeah.
And Kansas State's just one of those teams, like you said, they've had OU's number for a while, but it's not just OU.
Yeah.
Their run game, Deuce Vaughn is one of the, I'd say, the second best running back in the country behind Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Martinez, the past 2 games, has been another world of a different planet for his play at quarterback. We've been talking about Kansas State for a little bit now even every game in the Big 12 is really a trap game. OSU can, if they're not on their game, then they can lose one. Kansas State's one of them. I think TCU is another one. We just saw what TCU did to OU. I think I was checking during that game. OSU's only beat TCU in Fort Worth once since 1947.
Wow.
So they've had a hard time going into Fort Worth and winning beating TCU. TCU's undefeated. Their offense looks really strong. So I'd say TCU and K-State are the 2 big ones.
Yeah, and then going after this week, Jason Taylor was co-defensive player of the week with Khalid Duke, who's also from K-State. So it seems to look like we're kind of K-State and OSU are taking a lot of those titles. What does that say about our programs? Maybe even the matchup or how we've grown over the past couple of years?
Well, I think both are pretty historic programs. OSU they've been good for a while. They've rarely had losing seasons. Mike Gundy's had one in his entire career. K-State, they've been a historic program back to when Bill Snyder was coaching there. They've kind of struggled, but now they look pretty good. Their defense is very strong. We were actually when we recorded our podcast, we do a trivia, and the last time OSU got shut out in the second half was by K-State here last season. So their defense is really strong. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, Deuce Vaughn, I think, is the second best running back in the country. Adrian Martinez is also, like Spencer Sanders, just a very experienced quarterback. I believe he's in his fourth year starting now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just another guy who can turn it on at any time, really, and be dangerous.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're super appreciative of you guys being here. Make sure to check out more of their work on ocollie.com. Make sure to check out the eCollie and even more projects that the oCollie will have with oCollie TV. We hope you guys join us next week for more in the Writers' Room.
My name is Kayla. I've been here since the beginning, so 4 years. Scratch is more focused on farm and mostly made in Oklahoma products, keeping it local. Sustainability is our biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why this place opened.
I've been the chef here at Scratch for 2.5 years. Started here as a line cook. Our food and drinks are a bit separate entities almost inside the restaurant. So the food is now up to 85% of the products we bring in are raised or grown locally. It's all based off of things that I grew up eating in southern Oklahoma, the things my grandparents ate.
Fresh food, clean food, organic food, sustainability, that's all of our thing. From front of house to back of house, we're able to maintain both with freshness. But made in Oklahoma means we get it straight from the farms that are 20, 30 minutes, another little county away. We get it straight from them.
Are when folks drink our water is that they'll drink it for a few days and find out the difference. They'll start feeling better because there's been no chemical in our water. There's a list of good things that we have. We don't have any bad things in it. I see the future of Divine Water as being worldwide, which will bring outside dollars into the state. It means a lot to me because I started it, I guess, and our family started it.
This one?
Okay. Oh,
Straight camera?
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the pregame show. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Stillwater. I'm sitting with Zach Berger and Emma Lightfoot. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of
course, thank you. So we got a good game on our hands today. Tough competitor, Texas Tech. They're kind of a shock for me, their performance so far this season. Tell me just a little bit of kind of what you guys are thinking so far.
Yeah, you know, a lot of ups and downs for Texas Tech. You know, you really see the potential and a lot of kind of flashy plays from them, but also inconsistency. So coming off a tough loss.
Yeah,
I would say I have to agree. I mean, you know, OSU coming off of the Big 12 championship rematch, like, we got a lot of momentum going into this game, and I think Tech is going to kind of just not be able to know what to do with it, in my opinion. So I think it'll be a really good game.
I think that having the Baylor game away in Waco and then coming home to face Texas Tech is going to be a very big leg up for us because we know that we can do it on the road games, and we're going to have to do it at home, which we have done so far this season, but it's going to be a different kind of level of play today. So, series history, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
OSU and Texas Tech have played 50 games today. This will be the 50th match. As of right now, they're 23-23 on the series. OSU has never led that series, you guys. Out of all 50 games, we have never been up.
Not once.
So there's Tech. There's talk of Tech wanting to take that lead. There's talk of and kind of where do you think, just based off the series history, like, do you think that this is the team to take over?
Yeah, I mean, definitely just with the trend of OSU season so far, I think if any season is the one to take it over, it's this one. And, you know, like you said, it's 23-23 and then 3 ties, and OSU has never once had a game on Texas Tech. So I think going to this game with that in mind, I think they're definitely going to have kind of that fire under them of like, okay, we can finally like actually have a chance to do this, and it's really feasible for us this time, not just kind of like a shot in the dark type of thing. So.
Yeah, I know we haven't led yet, but recently in these past like decade, we've been really hot versus them. We've won 11 of the last coming off a loss. This is the team to do it.
Yeah, and so this will be actually their second road game of the series. Typically, road games are not favorable. A lot of people just like the home field advantage. They like playing with their fans and their crowd in their stadium. We played in Waco with a sold-out crowd against Baylor, and that was supposed to be the toughest matchup so far this season. And we pulled off a big win there. Do you guys think that being home in Stillwater is going to be beneficial for us?
Yeah, there's something different about Boone Pickens. I mean, we've been in there. We know that this crowd, it's a sold-out crowd. It's a first in-conference game here at Boone Pickens this year. Yeah, coming off that Waco game, everyone's just, this is the game to explode. You know, it's the game to take off, and I think they're ready to do that. Plus, Texas Tech doesn't have their tortilla tradition at home with kickoff. So
we don't need any of that out here.
Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, home field advantage is always something that's talked about, and especially with Boone Pickens, just how our crowd's been, especially this season, just with how dynamic the team's been, it's kind of hard not to feed off of that. So I think definitely coming into this game is going to have a big advantage for us, for OSU. Like you said, no tortillas. Like, what is Tech going to do with that, you know? Kind of crazy.
I mean, we guys just mentioned it. It's a sold-out game here in BPS, home game, and it's a big game. Like, Texas Tech, it's been word that with the changing of the Big 12, Texas Tech might become one of the bigger OSU rivals. Where do you kind of see this game going in that factor? Like, do you think that this game is kind of going to say, like, whether or not they're going to be a stiff competition for us moving forward?
Yeah, I think I can definitely see this, like, matchup between Tech and OSU becoming a rivalry, especially with OU and Texas leaving to the SEC. Just with, like, those two teams gone, kind of just, I don't know, I think this matchup will be a really good tell of, like, okay, are they going to be someone that is going to bring that rivalry each year now that OU won't bring that anymore? So.
whatever game comes out at the top in that highest rating.
Always going to be that tension with us in Baylor, just because that's just kind of how it is. It's always right there. We're always right there with them.
Yeah.
And I think that if Tech continues to progress the way, and especially just this season, I could see us being, I don't want to say in the Big 12 championship together,
Right.
but I could see we're getting close to
Very
there.
possible. Very
I definitely see
But
that
I mean,
happening, yeah.
then again, we got teams like Kansas and like teams that even West Virginia is putting out a good season so
It's
far.
insane. Like the parity in the Big 12 is just like, it's just insane.
It's
this year.
crazy because I feel like typically we have a divided conference, but I mean, you look at the OU Texas game right now. OU has not had one touchdown, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, they're supposed to be this big, like, bad team that's gonna beat everyone, but no.
Yeah.
What,
Not this year.
do you guys think that
But
OSU could take over that title?
I do, and this is what makes college football fun. It's an open conference. The quarterbacks and teams in general, it's making it just such a fun conference to watch. Any game can have any effect on the standings. So
Yeah.
I
Send it over to Max and Steve with Who Has the Edge.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to Who Has the Edge. I'm Max Chard.
I'm Steve Spears.
And we're here. We'll just jump right in here to the game we're all here for, Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech. Steve, what can you give me about this game so far?
Man, with the series being tied right now, was it 23-23 and 3?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, it's definitely a rubber match.
Yeah.
Both teams are coming in. I mean, we're trying to move up the conference rankings. And they're trying to come back from some 2 losses they had early in the season. One to NC State and one to Kansas State.
Yeah, exactly. I think people they look at the record and they're like, oh, 3-2, only 5 games in. Those are 2 losses that they're not bad losses. They're true
Not
road
bad
games.
teams.
They have to go across the country to NC State, third week of the season, and play a really tough NC State team and played a hard-fought game. 27-14 is a little bit misleading in that game.
Right.
And they hung right in there with K-State in Manhattan. Tough place to play over there. We all know that. So I think this team is I think they're kind of overlooked sometimes, as they shouldn't be.
And he also beat Texas in overtime.
Yeah.
We can't look over that. Texas
Great
is definitely
win.
an improved team this year.
Yeah.
And they took them, they beat them by 3 in overtime. So
Mm-hmm.
you got Donovan Smith with 1,475 yards passing.
Yep.
With 11 TDs. The one bad stat for him was, of course, the picks. 7 interceptions so far. That's crazy.
Yeah, 7 interceptions. He's throwing the ball around. He's getting the ball around the field and distributing well. But he's kind of, I would almost say like Spencer last year in a way.
Right.
He's not as many, but he's throwing picks. I think he shows a lot of talent and potential, but he's got to almost like slow down and make the right decisions and not be so hasty almost.
Go through those progressions. Make sure you get
exactly.
the right route.
Right.
Don't try to force it in too tight windows. We
Mhm.
got double coverage, things like
Right.
that. He's also second in team in rushing with 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
From what I saw, watching game film with them, I think the key to kind of getting him hurried up is by rushing him. He had too clean of a pocket.
Yep.
He has time to sit back there and kind of process and go through those reads. So I think for us, the key is to kind of put pressure on him to make him make those decisions and kind of put him in a situation where he's not doing those checkdowns. He's trying to go to a second route and then run. So
Yeah, I agree. And I think, this OSU defense, they've improved week to week. And I think that what they do is they create pressure on quarterbacks and make them make errant throws or errant decisions. Force throwaways, force hurries, force sacks, scrambles, etc. When we're pretty good and when defending that. If we can keep our secondary, if our secondary does not have to cover for a long amount of time, we're better off.
Yeah, I look for Mason Cobb to have a pretty good day too as well. Like I said, hurrying the quarterback, he already has 2 sacks on the season.
Yep.
If we can get them in a situation where they're getting away from what they want to do, get them off schedule, I think we're set up for success.
Yep, I agree. And, the defense, like I said, has improved a lot. Mason Cobb's been the main guy back there. 6 tackles against Baylor and a big tackle for loss. I remember that play. And 30 tackles in the season. Along with him, Jason Taylor's played really well in the secondary. He's been a leader back there in the secondary, kind of leading that secondary. It's I would say almost been the weak point for OSU, but it's improved week to week. They played well against Baylor, and Taylor had that pick to kind of seal the game off against Baylor last week.
That is a concern of mine because Texas Tech will throw the long ball.
Yeah, they will.
Their leading receiver right now, Miles Price, has 309 yards on the season so far with 2 touchdowns, but his longest right now is 58. So they take shots. You look at it, longest ball to Xavier White, 38 yards, to Jaron Bradley, 39 yards. They like taking shots. With our secondary, we got to be sure and make sure we got that coverage there to make sure they can't get those possessions.
Yep. Talk about Texas Tech offense. Let's check out the OSU offense. I think this OSU team is kind of more like the OSU teams of the past, high-flying offense that they're going to score to win games. And that's what they did last week, and they've done most weekends so far this season. Sanders, he's looked really, really comfortable so far. He's improved a lot since last season. Only one interception last week, 3 on the year. He's looked really good so far.
He's also looked good running the ball, too.
Yep.
4 rushing TDs for the season. We're definitely in a situation where I think we can definitely be good on offense today.
Yeah, I agree. And we've been able to get Dominic Richardson in the mix as well. He's been getting more carries as the season's gone on, and he's looked really well.
Got to get Presley involved, too, as well.
Yeah, Presley, Braden Johnson, John Paul Richardson. I really like those guys and getting them involved in the play more often.
15th in the nation in passing, 314 yards per game. I think we're set.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think they're going to be the key in this game done. But we're going to go ahead and pass it on to Tyler Tripodi, who is out reporting by Boone Pickens Stadium.
Over the years, we kind of realized that you can get ribs anywhere, you can get a steak anywhere, but you can't always get a Mountain View hot link like ours. So we really decided to focus on that niche and realized we had something really special. So that's when we started focusing more on the hot links, but it's still the same family recipe they were making all those years ago. For us, many of our people that work here have been with us for years and decades. So whereas machines kind of break down over time, the people just get better. And it shows in the products we produce. When you buy a Mountain View product, not only is it going to taste dynamite, but you're also feeding Oklahomans. You're helping employ Oklahomans, and you're helping to fund the state's economy. So what's better than that?
We use the very best of the best ingredients. Demerara sugar is the best that is. Very high quality fruits, berries. The milk we use is the best milk there is. That's why it makes our product stand by itself. I like to make yogurt because I like to eat yogurt. We've been doing this for ourselves for many years because it's a tradition in our family. And we want to have a product which would be very similar to French yogurt, but with our touch of uniqueness, linking our name, our product, with the reputation of the Made in Oklahoma Coalition was probably the best thing we have done as far as promoting our product.
My name is Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all 3 met, the 3 owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the teas, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, being the owner, owning something that, is able to impact other people's lives, and, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela. It's a great place to shop, a beautiful downtown, so come see us in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Welcome back, guys. We'll just jump into some scores here around the Big 12. First off, the biggest game of the week in the Big 12 probably not normally is, but this week it is College Game Day. TCU traveled to Lawrence, Kansas at 31-24 TCU right now with 13 minutes to go in the fourth.
Yeah, Kansas is making a play back. That game was they were down early. They were making strides to get back in this game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Kansas, excuse me. Jalen Daniels, who's looked really good all season long. Sadly, he came down with an injury earlier in the quarter, but now it's Jason Bean. He's came back in. He's looked well though. He's kept them in the ball game, which I was kind of wondering that when it came out if he would keep Kansas in this game or not. And so far he has been. They've got the ball right now. They're driving, so we'll see if he can tie it back up.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns in relief play. I mean, you need that in the backup.
Yep, you actually need that. And so how about the other game in the Big 12? Probably the surprise result right now. It is 42-0 Texas in the Red River Showdown. The first time since 1998 both teams have been unranked. 42-0 Texas in the fourth quarter. This game is essentially over with.
I hate to say, I think that OU is in a situation right now with all the transfers and defects after Lincoln Riley leaving. They may be in a little bit of a rebuild there.
Yeah.
The offense is definitely struggling to score and get yards today. And the crazy decision to jump pass in that situation, which resulted in an interception, I have never seen that call in that situation, and it was catastrophic.
It was an interesting call. I was kind of wondering that too. We were watching it before the show, of course, and it was a real interesting call. But I think it's just, people came into the season, they expected OU to just be just fine after losing your starting quarterback, starting wide receivers, and half your coaching staff, and along with recruits and everything else. Your entire program was torn down to pieces, and it's hard to completely rebound from that in one season.
Yeah, with the amount of people that left that program, coaching staff and players, I mean, it's definitely not going to function the same way it has in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
So that top team is now looking at a rebuild in the next few years to get back to where they once were.
Mm-hmm.
In the late game, outside of our game, of course, we got number 20 Kansas State going to Iowa State.
Yep. Kind of a dangerous game, I think, for K-State. K-State, they're only 1-point favorite, which is the reason why. There should be, it's tough to play over there. Jack Trice Stadium, Ames, Iowa, it's a tough place to play. And Iowa State, they're 0-2 and they've lost 2 games they very well could have won. Their kicker missed 3 field goals against Iowa State?
Right.
KU, excuse me.
Right.
So, it's definitely, I like K-State in this game, and I'm really high on K-State all season. I have been, although that loss to Tulane, they've looked really good. They looked really good against OU. They look sharp. And they have continued to look sharp. They looked sharp last week against Texas Tech. It just is a matter of, can they continue that? And they can't fall flat here this week against Iowa State.
I'm on the other end, actually. You got to have faith in the team, man, that's up against the wall like that. Coming to conference play 0-2. You definitely got to have some fight in you, kind of regain some confidence going forward. I mean, they still got the rest of the conference to go. So you may see some shuffling in and out of players that normally didn't play early on in the season to kind of get their confidence up.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree. I think it's just, and Matt Campbell and Iowa State, they're a tough squad. They're not going to be down themselves after losing the first 2 games.
Fighters.
Yeah, they're fighters. It's that's why I like them so much personally. They're fighters. They're not, they're just kids from in that area. They don't recruit 4 and 5 stars consistently. That's not what they do. They build 3 and 4 stars, mostly 3 stars, into talented rosters, and they have been. They've been pretty good recently, and Matt Campbell's a big part of that.
I definitely feel like Matt Campbell's a great coach, and you will get production out of those players that have in the past. I mean, you're 0-2 in conference. I mean, so you kind of start the season behind the 8 ball, but you can still correct it. It's a long season. It's only October.
Yep,
so
exactly.
you definitely can kind of get some momentum rolling here. I feel like a big win against Kansas State today, kind of get the ball rolling on that. It's momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, a big momentum, and they've, I would say they've still got OU to play and OSU, and they're playing K-State tonight, of course. They got Texas Tech left. They still have plenty of guys, plenty of teams left where they can get a few wins. They got West Virginia left. Games that are winnable or games where they can really cause some havoc in the Big 12 race.
Right. You see a lot of those teams that kind of get knocked out of contention early on.
Yep.
Kind of become the team that wants to just muck everything up.
Yeah.
So try to take down your top teams and knock them out of contention. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I see fighting this team. I definitely want them to be the one that plays the upset role here. Yeah, I mean, back to the Texas OU game. I mean, I didn't think that we thought that it was going to be this bad, 49-0.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams are down. I think Texas is kind of steadying the ship a little bit and trying to get to the situation where they can kind of contend. But 49-0, man, that just kind of –
man, you don't see that. I haven't seen that very often. Especially in a game like this where weird things happen in the Cotton Bowl, I like to say. Weird things happen there. Their games are close for a reason. This doesn't happen very often, and you don't, especially from on OU side, you don't see OU get beat like this very often.
It's a rivalry game.
Exactly.
I mean, those games are – you see trick plays come out. I mean, obviously they went to the trick play bag to get the jump pass. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean –
well, yeah, and so we're going to wrap it up here and send it over, send it to commercial, and then we'll be back here in a little bit.
Tailgate.
To Tyler Tripodi, excuse me.
The tailgate.
The tailgate. I was like, we had no idea.
And I found myself back here at OSU, kind of figuring out my family's legacy here.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talked a little bit about this earlier. You're interested in journalism. Is this the pregame show potentially something that you would want to be a part of?
Absolutely. I'm really enjoying watching you guys constantly moving around, really getting the opportunity to broadcast a game, which I find very exciting.
Yeah. I think what's something special about OSU is the fact that we're actually getting to do this as students and as young students. I mean, we have Emma, who's a sophomore. You're not even at OSU. Yeah. I'm a junior, but I've been doing this since I was a freshman here. And I feel like that is something that is very unique to this school. I mean, we have the #6 sports media program in the country, and we're doing this on a game day, and we're working with the team, we're working with the media schools, we're working with professionals, and we have all this access that I feel like is very under the radar in sorts with OSU, but I think it's also something that could be very beneficial for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think whenever I think OSU, I'm not like, oh my gosh, sports media, you know, but whenever you're actually a part of it, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many opportunities here. Like you were saying, just no matter how old you are, if you want to do something, they're going to throw you in there and let you get that hands-on experience like we're doing right now. So I think it's really cool just to have that perspective on it for sure.
Yeah.
So something that's often talked about, especially at OSU, is game day traditions. And for me and Emma, I mean, coming here and doing this show is a tradition for us. We do it every Saturday, hour before kickoff. What is your favorite tradition here, Rebecca?
I mean, I love hearing about the games. This is my first time going to a game.
Okay.
As a kid, I'd hear about them.
Yeah.
I was always too young to go. But now it's I finally get to go. I finally get to see what everyone talks about here.
Yeah.
See it for yourself kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you excited to get
my first college football game ever?
Wow. A bunch of schools. What kind of about OSU caught your eye?
I mean, at first it was mostly mostly like family lineage, and then like I got here and my college counselor was telling me, hey, they actually have a really good sports media program, which I didn't know about at all. And so
Yeah. I know.
Thanks, guys. So we'll check out some games around the country here. A game that kind of interests me here is Michigan, the fourth ranked team in the country. They're in a dogfight right now with Indiana, who just got beat by Nebraska last weekend, 17-10. It's in Indiana, in Bloomington.
Yeah, we were talking on camera. I think they want so bad for a Big Ten team to be contending this year. I think coming to this game, Michigan might have been a bit overrated.
Yeah, I think so
you got
too.
Indiana coming in to this game 3-2, and they're in a dogfight right now in the fourth quarter. Michigan's 5-0. I mean, it's kind of hard with what happened last year with Michigan beating Ohio State.
Yeah, right.
They've been thrust into that category where, I mean, you want to be a playoff team, but can they get back 2 years in a row? It's going to be tough. McCarthy's having a decent day. 21 of 29 for 236 and 1 TD, but also has 1 pick.
Yep.
Turnovers in the conference game, man, are costly. Gives the other team momentum to come back, hit you with another punch.
Especially on a road game like that, like I said, in Bloomington. In Michigan, they haven't impressed me yet. They played arguably the worst schedule in all of Power 5 this year. They played through the worst team in the whole country this year. With Colorado State, UConn, and Hawaii. Those are 3 of the worst in the country this year. And they played all 3 of them, so you couldn't get much from them.
Right.
And then, their first conference game against Maryland, they won. They were ahead most of the game, but it wasn't as dominant as I'd like to see from a team who's supposed to be what they say they are. Exactly.
So you're supposed to go in these teams and these gimme games and put up 50, 60, let your second and third team, these 5 stars that are getting recruited as freshmen, get them some clock, some film.
Right, I agree. And so, yeah, Michigan just putting the ball back to Indiana, so Indiana will have the ball, chance to tie the game up. There's still 13 minutes left to go in that game, so there's a lot left to go there.
Tennessee, LSU.
Yeah. So, Hayden Hooker, he's my guy. I've been high on him all season long, and he continues to show me why I should be. 37-7 right now with Tennessee. This is in Death Valley, by the way, at OSU, and they're just in full control over there. So really impressive looking win over there.
Is a KJ Jefferson guy, man. I wanted KJ to be so much better than Hayden Hooker this year, but Hayden Hooker is definitely, man, he's making that case. 16-26, 231, and 2 TDs so far.
Yep.
That game is definitely well in hand.
They're playing really well, and they're gonna get to host Alabama next week. If I'm correct on that, they're hosting Alabama next week in Knoxville, so that'll be an interesting game. Both teams undefeated.
Probably definitely be a game day game.
I think so too.
Will it mean a slight rivalry game too?
Yeah, I think so too. That should look really good. And then you mentioned KJ Jefferson, who obviously is not playing this weekend against Mississippi State. I know, tough.
I'm hurt.
Yeah, it's tough. But so Mississippi State's up 34-17 in Starkville right now against Arkansas. Will Rogers looks really good. He does.
Yeah, unfortunately. We're going to go ahead and go to commercial. And here in a second.
Hi, I'm Amanda Akins. I'm the owner of Hurricane Dixie Leather. I started this company back in about 2015, and I think that one of the most unique things about our store is that we're not just your everyday mom and pop leather shop. We use a lot of color and unique techniques that set us apart from others. We are a full Wrangler retailer. We have lots of Wrangler jeans and shirts. We've also got some other fun boutique clothes, and everything, all the leather goods in the store are made here in the shop. We also accept custom orders.
Our state is one of the most beautiful and unique states in the USA. With diverse geographies, the historic Route 66, unforgettable restaurants, and some of the greatest people on the planet. With so much to see and so much to do, living in Oklahoma means one of the best vacation spots is right in our own backyard. Doesn't this story need to be told? As filmmakers and photographers based right here in Oklahoma, we thought so. And hey, who doesn't like a good road trip? So, we packed up our cameras, teamed up with Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell and the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, and that's how this series was born. We want to show you why traveling within the great state of Oklahoma is a great idea. So come join us for thousands of miles over the next year, from Broken Bow to Black Mesa. This is the Oklahoma Road Trip.
My name's Kayla. I've been here since the beginning, so 4 years. Scratch is more focused on farm and mostly made in Oklahoma products, keeping it local. Sustainability is our biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why this place opened.
I've been the chef here at Scratch for 2.5 years. Started here as a line cook. Our food and drinks are a bit separate entities almost inside the restaurant. So the food is now up to 85% of the products we bring in are raised or grown locally. It's all based off of things that I grew up eating in southern Oklahoma, the things my grandparents ate.
Fresh food, clean food, organic food, sustainability, that's all of our thing. From front of house to back of house, we're able to maintain both with freshness. But made in Oklahoma means we get it straight from the farms that are 20, 30 minutes, another little county away. We get it straight from them.
We would design something, it was set on the counter, and people was either, if enough of them said, you know, this isn't it never made to the line. Dad was excited that they're all original. They were all designed on Mom's kitchen table, and it gets in your blood after a while.
We're very happy that Pamela and Michael have taken over the business and kept the family going.
We took the business over in 2017. When we found that it was available, we wanted to keep the legacy of family alive, but it was also incredible products that deserved to be a part of Made in Oklahoma's story. We were a part of Made in Oklahoma years ago, and so it kind of grew as Made in Oklahoma grew.
Oklahoma is ingrained into everything that we did. We've been here most of our life. That's what we entailed our whole business on, was the Oklahoma homegrown feeling.
Welcome back, guys. So we're just going to jump. We'll look at the game last week for OSU. OSU got their first big win of the season, a 36-25 win over Baylor. That was kind of their first real test, a truer game in Waco. Impressive win, really.
First game of conference, too.
Yeah.
To get us out to a 1-0 start. I mean, you got to talk about the revenge factor in this game, too. After what happened last year in the conference championship.
Yeah, exactly.
The game in the conference, too. Spencer Sanders had a pretty good game. 20 of 29 for 181 yards, 1 TD, and 1 pick.
Yep.
Redeemed himself with the last 2 games he played against Baylor. Was it 7 picks?
7 picks in the 2 games he had last year.
And that was a knock on Spencer when I got here, that he was a turnover machine. From what I've seen this year, he's definitely played a lot more under control.
Yeah.
He's definitely been a little bit more studious with his reads.
Right.
Making sure he's not trying to force things in tight windows. And definitely you see in the highlight here, showing off those wheels. He's running more.
See, that's why I've said this, like, whenever Sanders uses his legs, I feel confident. That's where he's best at, is using his legs, where he was last year. And as long as he continues to make plays with his legs, I'm confident in what OSU can do in any game this season. Like, I become more confident in OSU's offense and what they can do as a team when Sanders utilizes what he's best at, and that's using his legs, moving out of the pocket and making plays.
Right. I'm going to get in trouble here. I'm going to make a comparison. You can see a little bit of Russell Wilson in there. The good Russell Wilson, not what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
But
now let's ride.
He's definitely using his legs to get himself out of bad situations and make the most of everything. So, I mean, yeah, and then just being more conservative with the ball. He's not turning it over, getting situations where he's putting the team behind the 8 ball. So, yeah. I mean, it helps.
I like that comparison, Steve. I really do, actually. Because I see they're very similar. You know, Sanders is a little bigger than Russell Wilson is, of course.
Right.
But I like what I see. You know, what Sanders does is very similar to what Russell Wilson did, especially when he was on the Seahawks. You know, getting that Super Bowl win and then losing to the Super Bowl in that on the 1 yard line. But that's besides the point. But I mean, you know, like Russell Wilson, of course, he was best at making plays outside the pocket, improvising. That's what Sanders does best. And we've got great, talented receivers to help complement that way of play that Sanders has.
Yeah, I want to get into that because it seems like coming into the season, Brendan Presley was the guy returning off last year's team, but it seems like this year is more so by committee, where you have more guys stepping up. You got John Paul Richardson and other guys stepping in and kind of getting those catches, kind of spreading it around a little bit, so where it's not all on Brendan Presley to make all those plays.
Right, yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, last year we saw it was mostly Tay Martin who got the bulk of the receptions. He made the big plays. He was the guy in the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame. And that's, you know, because Tay Martin was that guy. He was a great receiver, and he had the great fit for it and everything. This year, there's kind of it's a receiver by committee, I guess you could say. You know, there's 4 or 5 guys who I can trust to make a play when they need to. You know, you mentioned them: Presley, Richardson, Green, Johnson, etc. Those are all guys that can make plays when needed.
Right. I mean, and you got to have that because if, let's say, I hate to say it, somebody goes down with injury, you got to have that next man up mentality. And spreading the ball around like they are right now, nobody's getting jealous. Everybody's getting catches. It's a party.
It's a party. Yeah, it's a party. It's a party in Stillwater. It's a party in Stillwater.
They beat you. I mean, you got your payback. You got your get back. So, I mean, it's a party. I like it.
Yeah. And the great thing is the defense is improving week by week also. That, you know, they held better scores for 30 minutes last game, you know, 2 quarters. And that was the difference in the game, honestly. You know, those 2 quarters they held scoreless, that's where OSU made their runs and kind of they kind of spread themselves out a little bit and got themselves some cushion.
Right.
Right.
I feel like the defense is going to be the key to today's game. Getting pressure on their quarterback.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
I mean, because like I said, he hasn't had a situation where he's been really pressured all year. He's had time to sit back there, go through all his reads, and make decisions. So we definitely got to use that pass rush to kind of make him sweat a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so too. You know, that front 7 is definitely the heart and soul of that Cowboys defense. Their experienced defensive line with some really talented linebackers. Mason Cobb, who's really showed himself as, you know, we were wondering who could replace Malcolm Rodriguez.
Right.
You know, how are we going to be able to fill that role? And Cobb has done everything in his power, and I think he's done a great job at filling that role and feeling like they're not missing a beat.
Stepping right into their role, becoming the heart and soul of that defense.
Here we go. That was one of the biggest plays of the game right here. That safety, Cobb was the main reason for it.
Right.
You know, he made the tackle.
Man, I love it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, putting pressure on him today is going to be the key.
Exactly.
If we can shore up the secondary, because like I said, they like to take chunk plays. So if we can keep them in a situation where they're not like throwing the ball over our heads, I mean, I think we're in great shape to win today.
I think so too. And, you know, it's the biggest thing, you know, it's just like, I'll make an example here. Last week in the TCU OU game, OU gave up, I think, 4 plays of 60-plus yards. And, of course, TCU won 55-24. Big plays, chunk plays, are the difference in games. And if OSU's done a good job of limiting those, and if they continue to limit those, they have a good chance every game this season.
We're going to go ahead and wrap and send it to, we got Dylan and Zach.
Hey guys, had a little bit of technical difficulty, had a little bit of change of plans. Emma had to go, but me and Zach back in the newsroom with you guys, back in the studio. All right, Zach, so we got a little jumbled, but we're back on track now. We got a lot to talk about in this segment. Defense, offense, everything under the sun with football. So let's start off just talking some defense, all right? So we got a lot of people saying that quarterback Blake Shapen was going to be difficult for us. The offense that he would play and the way that he led his team, they were saying that was going to be a challenge for us. Do you think that was an accurate thing to say about OSU? I felt like we did a fine job.
Yeah, no, I thought we did a good job too. I think, you know, this is a little bit different, right? Baylor kind of went in as that run-heavy offense. Now this is a pass-heavy.
Right.
Donovan Smith, I mean, he's throwing almost 50 passes a game. Now, not completing most of those with 7 interceptions, but that's what he's averaging.
We'll talk about that later.
I do think that it was an underestimate of our defense, and it's going to come down to our secondary knowing their assignments and our D-line really creating that pressure.
Okay, so we went into the Baylor game last week, we had a little bit more of a conservative, balanced, offensive game for us.
Yeah.
Do you think, granted that we do have a little bit more wiggle room in, say, our creativity on the field and calling our plays, how do you anticipate OSU to approach today's game? Do you think we're going to be heavy run game, heavy pass game, a little bit of both? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I watched that Texas Tech versus K-State game last week, and the big thing I noticed for Kansas State's offense was their run game. The quarterback, Adrian Martinez, ran for 171 yards himself. Plus, the running back, Deuce Vaughn, ran for 170 himself as well. So they were a big run-heavy offense, and I think we have the capabilities to do that as well. You know, Spencer Sanders is known for running and scrambling outside the pocket, so I think sticking with him on the ground and plus Dominic Richardson will be very successful for us.
Agreed. So we're going to wrap up the defense right here, but before we head to the offensive side of things, what are some keys to the defense that we can talk about today? Some keys, maybe players to watch, any of it.
Yeah, so, you know, I was looking at quarterback Donovan Smith for Texas Tech, his stat line. 7 interceptions, right? In every game that he has thrown an interception, he's been sacked.
Wow.
So I think the big deal for our defense and for us this week is creating pressure for the quarterback. And I feel like that was also a big deal last week versus Chapin, and I think it'll be the same story this week. So my big guys, you can't talk about our defense without talking about Mason Cobb.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
Mason Cobb has been dominant, huge stops, 30 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 2 sacks.
Jeez.
He's the guy right now for our defense. Him stepping up, a strong D-line from Brock Martin, Tyler Lacey. I think we should be solid.
I think so too. And something else that I wanted to mention was the fact that although OSU kind of potentially was the underdog in the past Baylor game, no matter what, they anticipated the play and they ended up making the key plays that we needed to make in that game. And I think anticipation is something that we're going to need to have in this game due to the fact that we don't know what plays they're going to be calling, and especially the fact that if he's a pass-heavy game, and he knows that we're a good pass and run game defense, they're going to try to switch it up on us. And I just hope, you can probably expand more on this. Do you think that we're capable of kind of defending both sides of that?
Yeah. You know, I think when you're inside your team, you know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
But from the outside perspective, I think last week was a big waking up moment for other teams when they saw us versus Baylor. I think it's one of those things where Texas Tech knows they can't go off from their own game plan. But I do see them trying to get maybe their running back, Shadorick Thompson, more involved and trying to get that run game. But on the other aspect of it, they're not going to go away from that pass game. I know our secondary's been a little shaky, and our defensive coordinator has talked on that. But hopefully, you know what, we're 5 weeks in now, you know, hopefully everything can really come together and people can know their assignments and stop the ball.
Right. So now let's switch to the offensive side of the ball. All right. So Spencer Sanders has done a tremendous job this season. He has done really a great job at commanding his offense and pushing them to kind of be on their game and also be accurate in what they're doing and be hitting the gaps, hitting the spots that they need to be hitting so that we can make those big plays and that we can get the final result in a touchdown.
Yeah.
We're 5th in the nation for scoring right now, 20th in the nation for overall offense. Do you feel that these are accurate representations of OSU's offense as of right now?
100%. And the one word I use to describe it is depth. I think the depth on this team is really what helps us shine, offensively and defensively. But when you have the seniority of Spencer Sanders, and then, I mean, really, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers who are making huge plays each week in, week out. I think it is an accurate representation just because, I mean, you can do anything with the depth we have.
Yeah. I think that people might try to say, oh, they had an easy non-conference schedule, but at the end of the day, we're still getting it done, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And so, moving on, what do you think kind of is going on in Sanders' head during this? Like, we see a little bit of him, not as much this year as we did last year, kind of just getting in his head and hesitating. He gets in his head and he hesitates, and then that's where the mistakes come. And he's doing such a fabulous job this year. We are seeing little to no mistakes so far. Do you think that he's capable of keeping that up?
100%. I think he learned from last year, and I think it's just that seniority and that understanding that, hey, this is my offense, this is my team, and I'm going to lead them.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this segment, but we're going to go ahead and send it out to the Who Has the Edge?
Thanks, Dylan. So score update here for you guys. TCU just scored to make it 37-31. Most likely going to be 38 here in a second, I would assume. Max Duggan just threw a 24-yard touchdown pass to Quentin Johnson, take the lead back after KU just tied it up. So there's a minute and a half to go in that game. So we'll keep an eye on that to make sure that game doesn't go crazy here in the last minute and a half.
Also, the game just ended with Texas and OU. 49-0 shutout.
That's an incredible thing. I've never seen that.
That was not the result I think any of us were thinking we were going to see out of that game.
No. I kind of thought Texas would win the game, but it's just, like I said, somewhere in the Cotton Bowl, the game's always close normally. That's rarely do you see a blowout there. I've seen it, but not very often.
You got the rivalry games where there's always something crazy. Yep. Like I said, the trick play, going for the jump pass, man, was the one that...
They needed to score there. That would have made it 21-7 had they scored there, and then it turned around, they went down and scored, and it's 28-0.
Right.
It's a 14-point swing.
Crazy. We didn't give our predictions for the game, did we?
No, I don't think so. We've given our predictions yet. What is your prediction?
Man, in all honesty, I have it 42-28 OSU. I think we're going to go ahead and put it on today, man.
There you go. All right. I'd love to see it. I'm going to say 45-31. We tend to always have at least a field goal. So I'm going to say 45-31 OSU. Our offense is going to keep us in this game and win us the game, I think, more than defense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, we're good for at least one field goal. So hopefully, with my prediction, we can go ahead and get over those defensive stops in there.
Right.
Get 7 points to the 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And score prediction here. So we're going to go ahead and send it back to commercial here, and then we'll get back to Dylan and Zach over on the other booth.
We kind of realized that you can get ribs anywhere, you can get a steak anywhere, but you can't always get a Mountain View hot link like ours. So we really decided to focus on that niche and realized we had something really special. So that's when we started focusing more on the hot links, but it's still the same family recipe they were making all those years ago. For us, many of our people that work here have been with us for years and decades. So whereas machines kind of break down over time, the people just get better. And it shows in the products we produce. When you buy a Mountain View product, not only is it going to taste dynamite, but you're also feeding Oklahomans. You're helping employ Oklahomans, and you're helping to fund the state's economy. So what's better than that?
We use the very best of the best ingredients. Demerara sugar is the best that is. Very high quality fruits, berries. The milk we use is the best milk there is. That's why it makes our product stand by itself. I like to make yogurt because I like to eat yogurt. We've been doing this for ourselves for many years because it's a tradition in our family. And we want to have a product which would be very similar to French yogurt, but with our touch of uniqueness, linking our name, our product, with the reputation of the Made in Oklahoma Coalition was probably the best thing we have done as far as promoting our product.
All right, everyone, another change of scenery today. We're just keeping you on your toes. All right, so in this segment, we got a lot to talk about, but first of all, we got some breaking news. I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, but it has just been tweeted out from RC Maxfield at RCMB323. Quarterback for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, Donovan Smith, is not playing today. He's going to be replaced by Baron Morton at quarterback. You guys have any thoughts on that really quick?
That's pretty big. I can tell you that now. It's pretty big.
I mean,
Yeah.
first, a possible not starting by your number one receiver after going out last game, and now your quarterback not starting. I mean, I don't want to say it changes everything, but it changes everything for this game.
It does.
Do I get a gimme on my score prediction?
Yeah,
you're right.
Do we get a change?
Let's change it.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. I mean, we talk about who has the advantage in these games, and one small detail can change it all. And now this is big.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into what we're here for. Bang or bust, you guys.
Let's
We got
do
some fun. These two are going to be a surprise for you. Me and Zach were kind of coming up with some earlier, but you two don't know what's hitting. Spencer Sanders has plus 60 rushing yards today, you guys. Steve, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I definitely want to go with yes on that. In the last few games, he's definitely ran for more than that. I mean, situation like this, keeping the defense honest, I can definitely see him getting out of the pocket and trying to make some of his legs today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, give me Bang for sure. I think I mean he's done that consistently every game, and I see nothing that's going to change here today. He uses his legs. He got a lot better using his legs to make plays, and I think he's going to continue to do that.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, K-State, Adrian Martinez, quarterback, ran all over them last week. So I think we're really going to try and emulate that game plan. I see Spencer Sanders dropping back and then going on the ground.
Charging it. Yeah, I'm with all you guys. I'm going to say yes to this, too. I don't see why we couldn't hit that, you know? He's a runner. That's his thing. We all know this. We're a running team. I don't see why Texas Tech, especially with all these changes that they're making now. I mean, obviously, quarterback's not a defensive player, but I don't think that that's going to stop us from hitting that mark, and he's totally capable of it. Moving on. Defense, OSU defense, intercepts 2 passes. But keep in mind that he has a 50-50. Well, actually, no, that was Donovan Smith. Now we're on to someone else. Guys, this is crazy. So just right off the top of your head, then, what are you thinking? Defense intercepts 2 passes today. OSU defense.
I'm going to say bang. I mean, defenses tend to play on inexperienced players. Mm-hmm. Like to blitz them, like to throw a lot of different defenses at them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I definitely 2 picks. Yeah, I'm with it.
I'm saying 2 picks on the dot also. I think, Texas Tech continuously, they throw the ball more than they do run the ball. That's what they've been doing. That's been their ID for a long time now, and I don't see it's going to change now, although it's a different quarterback, and I think that it's going to cause more mistakes more than anything else.
Yeah. Going off what Max says, usually I would say bust. I would think inexperienced quarterback, let's run the ball a bunch. Yeah. But once again, this is Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a passing offense, and as much as you want to change to adapt to your backup quarterback, you can't change your game plan that much this close to kickoff. So I'm going to go bang. 2 interceptions, young quarterback.
I'm gonna go with yes too. Our defense has done a good job at getting those interceptions and picking the ball, but I want to also kind of talk about the fact that if their starting quarterback only has a 50% completion rate, who's to say that the second string is going to be much better? Yeah. And maybe that's just ignorance, and ignorance is bliss. But I'm gonna have to go with yes, because if that's kind of what your number 1 is doing, what's your second string doing? Yeah. And I guess we're gonna see that today.
Yeah.
OSU gets a 50-yard return, punt or kick. What are your guys' thoughts?
That's tough.
It's iffy on that one. I'm not gonna lie to you. So it really depends on the kickoff coverage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go bust on that.
Okay.
I feel like we'll control the game.
Mm-hmm.
We won't need to rely on special teams like that today.
Yeah. Bust also, I think we're not going to give me opportunities to do that, honestly. Okay. I imagine the Texas punt coverage will be really good, where we won't get a chance to return punts, and then along with there won't be any kickoffs for us to return in general either. So,
well, I'll change it. I'll flip it up. I'm gonna go bang. Okay. I think they're gonna punt a bunch because of this new quarterback, and I mean we have some history. Jaden Nixon last week returned. Last time we played Texas Tech last year, we had an onside kick return for a touchdown. I think Brennan Presley's gonna get a bunch of chances with punts, and I think he might break free on one.
Well, you guys, I don't know what to do now. Everyone's confusing me. I thought I knew what I was doing, and this game is just blowing up in front of me. I'm gonna say yes, just because we had Brendan Presley and Jaden Nixon on the returns team for us, and I think that even though we might not get the perfect opportunity, I could see us getting a 50-yard return, punt or kick. I just think that that's plausible, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to sound ignorant, but I just don't know. I feel like this game is kind of blowing up in our faces a little bit. But I got one more fun question for you guys. Red Raiders, Texas Tech has a big tortilla throwing tradition.
Before kickoff, everything.
Awesome. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have seen, but it's pretty insane.
I like it.
They all bring in tortillas and they just throw them out. The flying tortillas, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
We're not in Lubbock today, but Texas Tech is here.
Yeah.
Do we foresee potential tortillas being thrown or even being brought into the stadium?
Spencer Sanders, sidelines, hitting the head with the tortilla before kickoff. Listen,
Imagine
I've seen some Texas Tech fans here. You're not telling me one didn't bring a tortilla. But
you got a guy with a whole burrito in his pocket.
Whole Chipotle burrito. Here we go.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I'll go with the bang. Some Texas Tech fan brings in a tortilla, throws it at one of our players.
He gets a little mad, tosses it.
Toss the
You
tortilla.
never know what's gonna happen.
I'm in with Zach on this one. Like, why not? Let's have some fun with it. You know what? Tortilla being thrown on the field. There will be a tortilla laying on the 20-yard line at some point.
I agree. Let the tortillas fly.
Let them fly.
Let them fly.
Let them fly.
I'm gonna join you guys on this one. I'm gonna say why not? You know what? I think it'll be all right. You know, we throw one, we don't throw one. Either way, it's gonna be a great game. So it's gonna be an interesting game, to say the least.
Yeah.
All right. Before we kind of wrap things up over here, do you guys have any last comments? Any last kind of keys to the game that you want to discuss?
You know, like we started this segment, everything's changing right now. It's one of those things where adaptability, right? You got to be able to stay on your toes and adjust to your atmosphere.
Yeah.
Will Texas Tech be able to do that? I'm not too sure. But I think OSU is just going to ignore all those distractions, focus on their own game and Boone Pickens, and take care of business.
Absolutely.
I say, like I said earlier, the key to this game was defense. It definitely ratchets up now with an inexperienced quarterback coming in.
Yeah.
I definitely see us like throwing blitzes at them like crazy, exotic defenses. Yeah.
Disguise your coverages. Exactly. Disguise your coverages. Throw stunts. Throw different blitzes. Exactly. Bring a DB. Bring a safety on a blitz. You know, make him uncomfortable in the pocket. Make him have to move and make errant throws.
So I know last segment y'all did your score prediction. Me and Dylan. Here we go. What's your score prediction?
I'm gonna go 35-21, and I'm gonna keep it close, but it could change. I don't know.
Originally, I had 36-23, but now I'm going to go 36-14. I just don't see him scoring. I don't see him scoring with this new quarterback.
All right, we'll see. Well, that's going to do it for the pregame show today. You guys, thank you so much for joining us and hanging with us through all this change today, all the technical difficulties. But kickoff is right now, so we're going to give a big go Pokes and wish good luck for our Cowboys.
Go Pokes.
My name is James Remedy. Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all three met, the three owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and you know, Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the tees, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get, you know, everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, you know, being the owner, owning something that, you know, is able to impact other people's lives, and, you know, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela.